Hello, my creative friends. I'm Heather North from heatherscreativelessons.com. I am here with the very special blog hop for the new In the Mood class over in the Creativity Grows Here classroom. Maureen has put together an amazing collection of mood boards exclusively for this classroom. She's also put together this bonus mood board just for the blog hop so we can show you what this class is all about. Each of the designers and a few guests will be taking this mood board and using it as inspiration for creating a card. I think I could go for days on that inspiration photo, and you will actually see several more videos and cards from me over the next couple of weeks just from that mood board. But to start out, I'm going to take my inspiration from that top right corner, that picture of the flowers. Kind of reminds me of dogwood. I decided to pull out this new stamp set. It's called You Got This from Stampin' Up. And I'm going to first ink it up with, it doesn't really matter, but I'm using Memento. And I'm going to stamp it on a piece of masking paper. And the reason I'm going to do this is I want to stamp my image on top of each other and have some of my flowers look as though they're going behind. So I just stamped it and then I'm going to cut it out. What I have here is a piece of Tim Holtz Distress Watercolor paper and an anti-static tool. I'm just rubbing it all over my paper. You could use your embossing buddy if you have it. And then I'm going to ink up my stamp with Versamark ink and stamp it in the top right and the bottom left-hand corner. Then I'll sprinkle some clear embossing powder from Stampin' Up over my images and heat set it. I'm going to need to heat set this in a couple of different stages because if I put the mask right on there right now, I'd pull up all my embossing powder. This will also help me to see it better when I do place my mask on. So I just flick off the excess, get my heat tool nice and hot, and melt the embossing powder. My next step will be to peel off this mask and place it over one of my flowers so that I can stamp the image again. And by doing this, like I said earlier, it will make it appear as though the second and third stamped flowers are actually resting behind that first flower. So I move the position of my stamp a little bit and go just on either side of that flower. Then I just repeat the process of adding embossing powder and heat setting it. I'm going to save this mask with the stamp set so I can use it again later. The picture I'm taking my inspiration from in the mood board had a lovely watercolor look, so I'm going to try and recreate that with some distressing. The colors I'm using are Shaded Lilac, Picked Raspberry, and Salty Ocean, and I just put a little bit onto my craft mat. Now I'm going to take a clean brush and just some water, and I'm going to paint with water those embossed flowers. Then I'm going to pick up some ink with that same paintbrush and just dab it onto different areas of my flower, just letting the water do the work and spread those colors around. The color went a little further outside the line that I had planned, so I decided to just go with it, and I am adding more water, and I'm really watering down that ink before I dab it onto my card stock. I want this to be kind of a loose, flowy look to it. And now I'm going to take my heat tool to dry it really quickly. You could just set it aside to dry, but I'm going to be working on the other side. And I wanted to make sure that the intense colors didn't spread too far away from the flower. So now I'll work on the other flowers. This is the set of 3. And do the same thing. Wash it with some water. Pick up some ink with my wet brush and dab it onto my cardstock. This particular flower has a little bit of a stem and some leaves, So I took some peacock feathers and I'm just using that to paint in the leaves and also do a light wash around that area. After my piece was dry, I thought that line in between the two was really harsh. So I just came in with some water and got the colors of ink flowing, and then added just a little bit of really diluted salty ocean ink to the center. I want the center to be lighter than anything else. So here I'm just adding some ink splatters by getting my paintbrush really full of water. I'm mixing the colors together, and then I'm tapping my brush to just let the ink splatter all over. My sentiment is also coming from the You've Got This stamp set from Stampin' Up. I bought this just for that sentiment. One of my son's coaches, baseball coaches, says this to the kids all the time. If they are discouraged, if they're up to bat, if they're nervous, if things aren't quite going right, he'll yell out, "You've got this!" And the kids just seem to respond to it so well. He's been going through some medical issues lately, and I know that his wife is just having a hard time keeping the home front and the kids and everything, so I thought I would make this card to just send to them and let them know that you've got this and we've got your back. So I stamped that in VersaFine Black Onyx ink, and I was clapping because I was very excited. I had the whole technique piece done, and then I did my stamping, so I got really nervous that I might mess it up, but it turned out fine. I sprinkled it with some clear embossing powder, and this will give it a little bit of a shine that matches the embossing on the flowers, but even more importantly, it will keep me from smudging my piece now that it's all done. I added a little bit of heat to the back of this card, and that kind of helps that watercolor paper flatten out because it is really warpy, which that's what happens when you add a lot of water. I just used some snail adhesive, and I'm adhering my panel to my card base. And then my final step will be to add one of these butterflies. I'm going to use some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to adhere my butterfly. And I'm using this because when it dries, it not only dries clear, but it dries matte. So if any glue seeps out below the butterfly, or if I move the butterfly and there's glue on my paper like I just did, you're not going to see that shiny spot behind it. It's just going to dry and you're not going to even see it. So I really like this. I hope you enjoyed getting this peek into the In the Mood class, and that you enjoyed seeing the process of going from inspiration photo to finished card. If you like my card, be sure and give me a thumbs up on YouTube, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see the other cards that I made inspired by this mood board. Now it's time to hop along and see how the other designers and guests were inspired by this gorgeous collage. Catherine Puller is giving away 10 free spots to the In the Mood class. It's random, but all you have to do is leave a comment by June 24th. The more blogs you comment on, the more chances you have to win. Good luck, and I will see you in the classroom. Bye!